a very warm welcome to the third episode of our customer education series, Nivesh Kar Befikar, presented by India's largest online insurance innovator and advisor, of course, in partnership with MoneyMile. So before we start, viewers, I'm sure you'll agree when I say that with the lockdown 2.0 and the entire unlocking phase, when it comes to traveling, most of us found ourselves baffling with few questions. Some of them would be like, what should we do if our vehicle insurance expires during the lockdown? Should we renew it? And how should we renew it given the pandemic? Those to buy new vehicles post the unlocking, how should they go about in terms of cover? So to address these queries of yours and many others on motor insurance, today we have with us a very erudite panel, which will be moderated by Vivek Law, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of MoneyMile, and our guest for the session, Sajja Praveen Chaudhary, who is the motor business head for PolicyBazaar.com. Through the course of the webinar, first we take you through a 15-minute panel discussion on everything that you need to know on motor insurance, more so on usage-based motor insurance, which will be then followed by a 30-minute Q&A with our audience. Hope you like it.
Thank you very much, Apeksha, for that introduction, and welcome, Sajja. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And, when we spoke recently for another show that we did together, the big point that came across was, the pay-per-use kind of a concept that motor insurance companies are coming out with. And before we go into how the industry is recovering, my first question to you is pay-per-use. Can you explain what this concept is all about? How does it work? Who does it benefit? Who should opt for this?
Thanks, Vivek. So basically, currently, if you look at the way motor insurance or car insurance is structured in the country, almost everyone who has a similar car pays the same amount of premium if you're located in the same city. If I'm assuming basic demographics to be the same. So let me take an example. For example, a person who's staying in Delhi having a Honda City, which is registered in, say, 2016, versus, let's assume I also stay in Delhi, I also have a Honda City, which is registered in 2016. Predominantly, I am going to get the same premium as that XYZ person also. This is predominantly because insurance companies today use the methodology of few parameters to price the consumers. One is the age of the vehicle, the model of the vehicle, whether you claimed last year or not, and certain other things like the RTO or the location from where you are, and the IDV of the vehicle. So as you see, there is nothing that is related to me per se or my behavior per se in that entire pricing mechanism. So assuming that Vivek and I stay in the same city and we both have the same vehicle which have been purchased in the same month, then both of us are going to end up paying the same premium. Which might not be the right way to price because Vivek might be driving less and I might be driving a lot more, which means Vivek is a very low risk for the insurance company, whereas Sajja is a very high risk for the insurance company. That's where usage-based insurance comes into picture. Basically, what it tries to do is it tries to give that benefit to those users who are lower risk for the insurance company. It tries to adjust that pricing basis the users who are higher risk. For example, there are multiple ways in which you can do this. One of the ways in which usage-based insurance has come out now is, if I can take an example of, say, Bharti AXA policy or, the policies that come with Bajaj and Tata AIG, where you have a kilometer-based pricing. When I say kilometer-based pricing, today, let's assume if I were to pay 10,000 rupees for a policy in a year, in which there is no kilometer limitation as such, I can opt for a policy which limits me to driving 2,500 kilometers a year, or a 5,000 kilometers a year, or a 7,500 kilometers a year. And basis that I might end up paying only a 6,000 rupees premium, or a 7,000 rupees premium, or a 8,000 rupees premium, instead of paying a 10,000 rupees premium. So this is one of the ways in which a usage-based insurance is seen today. Where the customer pays basis the number of kilometers that he or she is going to drive in that year. That's one part. The second way is basically, can you price the policy or only basis the number of days that the customers drive? That's what is a Edelweiss switch policy, which has come in the pay-as-you-drive categories now. What basically it does is, unlike the other policies that I just spoke about from the other category, this policy ensures that you can turn on and turn off your insurance for that particular day. basis whether you're driving or not on a particular day. Okay, so you have a policy in a general motor insurance policy. There's a third-party insurance and there's a own damage component. The Edelweiss policy is a own damage only policy, which takes care of only damages to your car. So you get to pay a X amount of premium upfront. So instead of paying, for example, say 10,000 rupees premium, you might be asked to pay 2,000 rupees upfront, and then at the 2,000 rupees also will have the advance for 60 days of driving, assuming you drive for 60 days in a year. So let's assume if you drive only for 60 days, given the coronavirus situation or whatever it is assuming, then you will actually need not pay anything else about that 2,000 rupees. Otherwise, let's assume the day, whenever you're going to cross the 60 days, per day they're going to charge you, for example, say 20 rupees. So let's assume in a year you end up, say apart from the 60 days, you end up driving under 100 days. So, say 20 rupees into 100 is about under 2,000 rupees. So you might just end up paying about total of 4,000 rupees of premium instead of paying 10,000 rupees of premium. That's how, usage-based insurances, where it basically takes into consideration the risk as a factor in terms of number of kilometers that you drive or the number of days that you're going to drive. And definitely that is one of the important factors when you look at, claims data per se. And consumers can benefit through this because, at the end of the day, they're going to pay what their risk is worth, kind of.
Sure. So lots of questions coming in as well. Quickly, one question on what you just said from Gaurav Bhansali. When will usage-based insurance come into effect, and will it be applicable for third-party insurance as well?
Okay, so basically, what has happened, Vivek, is this usage-based insurance has come out already as part of IRDA sandbox mechanism. So basically, IRDA has come out with sandbox rules, regulations, or a draft last year, and basis that they've given out a process for insurance companies to apply under sandbox regulations, where any new product lines can be introduced which are not existing today, and these products will be in place for, say, for the next 1 year or so. And basis the experience of these products, the insurance companies may be allowed to actually make these products full-fledgedly available for public. So which means is the usage-based insurance or whatever that we're referring to right now has already come into effect from the month of April onwards. So they are available in the market for purchase. But mostly these will be available only for next 1 year until IRDA sees that, yes, these plans are going well. And over the next 1 year, they normalize these plans, then it's available going forward also. But for you to purchase right now, they're available already. Sorry, there's second part also, Vivek, I guess, the third party thing. Vivek, you asked something else also, I guess. There's a third party thing also.
The question was that, is it applicable to third party insurance?
No, it is not applicable to third-party insurance from a, let me clarify. So the second category of plan, which I spoke about, the Edelweiss switch, where you can turn on and turn off your insurance basis the number of days that you're driving, that is a own damage only policy, which means it's only gonna cover your car from any kind of accidents or fire or theft. A third party is something which is mandatory by law to run on the roads, and it's an annual policy, and you need to have it compulsory. Now, when it comes to the other category, the first category, which is a Bharti AXA or a Bajaj or a Tata AG example that I've taken, in that, as I told, a policy has two components. One is own damage component, a third party component. While it's a comprehensive policy that you're taking and a pay as you drive, the third party component is decided, or the premiums for third party component are decided by the regulator and they're fixed. So if you're paying a 10,000 rupees of premium, I'm just assuming out of 10,000 rupees premium, generally, there'll be about 3,000 rupees which would go to third party, and there is about 6,000 rupees which will go to own damage. So in Bharti AXA policy, what would happen is this 3,000 rupees remains constant. The 6,000 rupees is what is getting, discounted. So as a result, what's happening is you're going to pay this 3,000, let's say 50% of the 6,000, which means you end up paying only 6,000 rupees. So your third party is covered for the entire year, irrespective of how many number of kilometers you drive. So just to clarify, let's assume in a Bharti AXA policy as an example, if we were to take, if I have opted for paying 6,000 rupees instead of 10,000 rupees, and if I've taken a 2,500 kilometers product, okay, I will be covered up to 2,500 kilometers for any kind of own damages that will happen to my car. But for third party coverage, it's throughout the year. There is no limitation of the kilometers. So let's assume tomorrow, if you don't end up crossing 2,500 kilometers in the entire year, then you're covered for the entire year within that 6,000 rupees for own damage also and third party also. Let's assume 6 months down the line, you realize that no, my 2,500 kilometers is going to go bust. So I might drive 5,000 kilometers in the year. You go to Bharti AXA and you ask them, okay, why don't you endorse my policy? And there's a kind of a process for this. You endorse my policy to 5,000 kilometers. So they might charge you, say, 1,000 or 1,500 rupees extra, and you will endorse your policy to 5,000 kilometers. So that your own damage component, if at all tomorrow an accident happens post crossing 2,500 kilometers, your own damage component does not go away. So your car is taken care of. So just give an example. Today is August. You start a policy. In the month of November, you finish off 2,500 kilometers and you don't go to Bharti AXA and you don't get your policy endorsed. In the month of January, some third-party incident comes up. Your policy will take care of the third-party cover, but it will not take care of your own damage cover for your car.
Okay, one quick question from Gaurav Bhansali again. Can existing users migrate to a usage-based insurance?
So, Gaurav, unfortunately, no. As I said, this is part of, sandbox regulation that the regulator has allowed insurance companies to launch products. So this is only available. These kind of policies are right now only available in case if you already have a policy which is expiring, or if a policy is expiring and you're going to take a new policy, or else if you're buying a new car and you want to take this policy. It is not possible to migrate in between. Yes, there is one way where you can, all motor insurance policies have this clause where, if you have an alternate policy, you can cancel your existing policy. That is one way you can do it, but that's a very, very tedious process. So we would not really suggest you that, you should do it because if you're already in an existing policy, then we would suggest that you can migrate into these policies as and when your policy is up for renewal next.
Okay, I think Sajja, there seems to be some connectivity issue with you. We can't hear you or see you anymore. So if you can either re-log in or set your Wi-Fi in, that will help.
He's re-logging. He's re-logging in.
All right.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can see him now. Yes, Sajja, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm there. I was just muting because I think there's an echo that's coming up between you and your speaker and my speaker. That's it. I'm here.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I've explained. So basically, you cannot migrate from an existing policy. This is a policy which you can take up when your policy comes up for renewal, or when if you're buying a new car, but you cannot migrate from your existing policy into this.
Okay, so there are quite a few other questions as well from beyond the pay-per-use bit, which you've explained very well. I think from what I understood, Sajja, anyone who is not using the vehicle, say more than 7,500 kilometers a year, this may be a good option. Is that what, according to you, a good cutoff where you stand to actually benefit if you are not driving too much?
Absolutely, Vivek. Yes. So the first category of products, which I said, kilometer basis pricing or policies based on number of kilometers that you're driving. If you're not going to drive more than, yes, I think probably 7,500 kilometers is the right cutoff, you can say. If someone is going to drive less than 7,500 kilometers in a year, they can opt for this policy so they can get a better pricing and all. If you are going to drive more than 7,500 kilometers in a year, yes, it might be still good for now to stay with your existing regular policies itself. That's one kind of category. But the second category, Vivek, is that the Edelweiss switch policy that we were discussing about, where you can turn on and turn off your own damage component, right? So that policy will be beneficial for those people who don't drive on every day in a year. So let me take an example of people who might stay in Mumbai or Delhi or any of the cities where, you might be traveling by public transport during the weekday to your offices. So let's assume in Mumbai, most of the people travel through the local trains to their offices. And it's only on weekends that they might go on a long drive or they might actually go on a drive. There are a lot of people. I'm not saying everyone, but there are a lot of people. Similarly, in Delhi also, you might be using metro given the traffic condition and all versus, and in the weekends, however you drive. So what it means is in 365 days in a year or 52 weeks, you only end up driving 100 days in a year. And the rest of the 265 days, the vehicle is staying in your garage. So which means using that policy, you can end up paying only for that 100 days and not for the entire 365 days. And as a result, you can save a lot of premium there also. So there are both the categories. So you need to understand which category do you fall into and what would suit you the best.
Sure. There's a question from Ajit. Will all the insurance companies be providing this or only private players?
So Ajit, basically, as I said, right, this is under sandbox regulations, and IRDA has asked insurance companies, whoever is interested in new concepts, to apply. So there are various companies which have applied under sandbox regulations. So they and accordingly, IRDA has evaluated those proposals, and then they have permitted insurance companies. Right now, from whatever at least we see, majority of the products are from private insurers only, especially the usage-based insurance that we are speaking about in your question. The first category of products, which is per kilometer basis pricing, is available from Bharti AXA, Tata AIG, Bajaj Allianz. These are a few of the insurance companies. And whereas when you come to a switch-on, switch-off policy type of it, it's available from, say, Edelweiss General. Right now, I don't think they're available from any of the PSUs or the public sector insurance companies. And it's part of sandbox. So there is nothing mandatory that it says you will have to launch it. It's only that if you applied and if you got an approval from the regulator, you would launch it.
Okay, sure. Let's take a few other questions. So there is a question around COVID-19. Prithvi Reddy has this question. What has the impact of COVID-19 been like for two-wheeler insurance? But my question is going beyond two-wheeler for the overall motor insurance space. What has really happened in the last 4 months? We saw vehicle sales coming to a standstill. The last couple of months, we are seeing growth again. Of course, from the pre-COVID days, not a growth, but at least over the last 4 months, things seem to be picking up vis-a-vis May or in April. So what's really happening? How is the premium rates playing out? What all has happened in the last 4 months, if you could tell us that?
Yes, Vivek. So basically, once the COVID has hit, till March, I think it was fine. But April, especially around end of March, once the lockdown has started off, people obviously understood that they're not going to take their vehicles out on the roads very soon. And as a result, yes, a lot of people stopped renewing their policies at that point of time. And as a result, the sales have come down drastically in the month of April across channels. And especially I'm referring to the renewal or rollover of policies, which means customer already has a policy last year and they're going to renew this year. But come May, once, from the month of May or mid of May, when we started to see, how do I put it? We started to see unlock happening, or some places where people have been started to allow to go to offices and various other things. People have started to purchase back, and come June, I think June has come back to pre-COVID levels. People have started renewing policies as they used to do earlier, at least on private car and two-wheeler. However, on the brand new vehicles, yes, there has been a definite silence on brand new vehicles for a couple of months because the vehicles were, the showrooms were not open, the vehicles were not being sold. And obviously, there's also, I think, a bit of hit on the manufacturing side with the manufacturing units not being open and so on and so forth. So definitely that insurance segment of brand new vehicles has taken a hit. And it's still very, very slow compared to what it is, pre-COVID levels. But at least the renewals and rollover part, which we're dealing with majorly, yes, that entire segment has come back to pre-COVID levels and it's growing further and further about that. It's applicable for both cars as well as two-wheelers, private cars as well as two-wheelers.
Okay, here are a few consumer-specific questions. We've got quite a few of them, so let's try and quickly finish some of them so that we can address customer queries. Mahadev Jadhav has this question. Up to what time does the insurance company issue zero debt policy for a car from the date of manufacture?
So basically, every insurance company has have their own rules basis. Some people consider basis manufacturing year, and some people consider it basis registration year. Okay, from whatever year that insurance companies consider, most of the companies provide anywhere between 3 to 5 years, up to 3 years or up to 5 years. There are a whole set of insurers who give, almost all of them give up to 3 years, and half of them extend till 5 years. There are only about 3-4 insurers who give beyond 5 years as a policy zero depreciation, up to 10 years. So, but that's how it is. But generally, people, from what we see also, people opt for zero depreciation. Definitely, if I look at 70% or 75% of users opt for it up to 3 years. But after 3 years, what we see is there's a steep decline that happens between 4th year and 5th year of the vehicle. That we see generally users, I think only about 40% of users opt for a zero depreciation, and after 5 years, it's hardly about 5% of users who opt for a zero depreciation.
There's a question from Balkesh. At what age of the car should one buy third-party insurance? I'm presuming it's from day one, right? Because it's mandatory anyway.
Yeah, it's mandatory anyway. I think if I understood correctly, the question the person is trying to ask is when do we suggest that they take a third-party only policy instead of a comprehensive policy? So I'll answer it from both the perspectives. One is, for you to drive a vehicle legally on the roads, you need to have a third-party insurance for sure. Without a third-party insurance, you cannot drive legally on the roads. So you should definitely have third-party cover. So a comprehensive policy comes with third-party cover and own damage cover with it. So that's how it is. Or you can buy a third-party only cover also. So there are both these options available. Now, coming to the question, in case if you are asking when do we think a customer can shift from a comprehensive policy to a third-party only policy, that completely depends on your comfort. So we also see very, very few users who buy third-party only policy, even in the first year of the vehicle purchase also. Generally, institutional owners who think that their vehicle is going to only run within the boundaries of the institution or the school or the college or the hotel, they end up buying only a third-party only policy. But otherwise, in individual people, what we generally see is people tend to buy third-party only policy post 7th year of the vehicle. After 7th year of vehicle, I think people realize that there's not much going to happen in terms of accidents or the damages. When they happen also, people are okay with having few dents and scratches here and there on their car, versus in the first year or second year, you want your car to be superbly clean and shining all the time. So but having said that, this is broadly what the market is looking like. Again, it depends on your comfort, whether you would want to cover it till the exact to the dot or not, and the financial side of it. So that's what can make you help you make the decision actually.
Sure. Here's a question coming from Rahul Vishwakarma. His question is, I'm a first-time buyer of motor insurance. Any tips or suggestions for me as to how I should go about choosing one for my Honda i10 vehicle? I think you're on mute, Sajja. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm saying it must be Hyundai i10. I'm assuming. Hyundai i10. What he's asking is he wants to figure out what is the best policy available for it. Is it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So it totally depends. Like as I said, right, there are multiple options that is available. Whether a third-party only policy is something, third-party cover is something which is mandatory for you to run on the roads. Then there is a comprehensive policy which has both own damage and third-party. And then there are add-on covers which you can take on top of a regular comprehensive policy. Now it depends on what kind of a driving or what kind of risks that you see in the place that you drive or in the place that you park. A comprehensive policy is definitely something which I would recommend that anyone should have. Now the add-ons, it depends on what kind of it is. So let's assume if you were going to drive very less and you don't think there are much of dents or scratches that's going to happen, then you can just be with the comprehensive policy and you need not take any add-ons. But if you're in a city where dents and scratches are normal and someday someone might just come and hit your car and that's possible, a zero depreciation add-on is something which you should have, because what that helps you in is in ensuring when a claim comes up, if there are parts which are being replaced in your car, there is no depreciation deducted on those parts. Otherwise, what happens is every part ages, right? So with age, there's a depreciation that's taken into consideration and that's deducted. So, in such a scenario, you should take a zero depreciation add-on. And there's one thing which is roadside assistance add-on that a lot of insurance companies provide. This comes in handy because, this helps you in case if your car is stuck somewhere in the middle of a road during an accident or for due to any other reason like flat tire and something. and you need some help where, you know, a local garage or where the roadside assistance partner can come in and help you out, jumpstart the battery, get your flat tire changed, or tow your car to the nearest garage. This is one thing which generally is helpful for everyone. Apart from this, then there are the add-ons like engine protector, which you might want to add in case if you're lying in a low-lying area. What I mean by low-lying areas where there might be frequent water flooding or whatever it is. Because what happens is a comprehensive policy covers your vehicle up to the, you know, generally the body parts and everything is covered. The engine is also covered in case of an accident. If let's assume an accident happens and your engine gets damaged, your engine is covered. But let's assume if there's a waterlogging that happens and you try to drive through that waterlogged area, and as a result, the water gets into your engine and your engine gets spoiled or your engine has to be opened up and cleaned up and all of that, then the regular policy will not cover it unless until you have an engine protector. So if you are generally in an area, you know, which is low-lying area or which is very much prone to floods or waterlogging, then you should take an engine protector add-on. And so on and so forth. There are fewer add-ons which you can always compare and then decide. But these are broadly some things which I would ask you to keep in mind.
Okay, some more questions coming in. Amit Kumar Deshwal has a very interesting question. How can I make sure that my claim payment is timely? What should one do if it is not?
Right, Amit. So basically, when you're saying claim payment is timely, I'll just take a step back and suggest for all the viewers that in case of a claim, gone are the days, I guess, at one point of time, we used to just figure out which is the nearest garage, and then we used to figure out, go there and then, start to do that, get either the documentation done there or whatever it is. I think today insurance companies have moved a lot ahead and they've come up with a lot of wonderful processes which customers can take advantage of and ensure that they are, they take a lot of less pain compared to what it was in the past. I think it's got to do with technology and that other advancements that we have, we've seen over a period of time that have helped people do this or the insurance companies do this. So my suggestion is that for anyone, in case of a claim, that in case you have a claim or in case of an accident, instead of going to a garage nearby, what you should do is you should call up the insurance company first on their claims toll-free number. That's the foremost thing that you should do, because there are a lot of companies who give you a roadside assistance service, which means they will, either pick up the car from there and take it themselves to, they'll tow it to the garage if required. Or there are also companies which have pick up and drop service, which means, let's assume a small, your car got, a small dent, but you drove it back to your home because you're already on the way back to your home or to your office. And then you want to claim it, rather than, getting out of your meeting or, spoiling your family time and all of that stuff. So once you call up your insurance company, depending on every company has that, has different features available. Most of the companies have this pick up and drop feature where they would pick up the car from your house, take it to the garage, get it repaired, get the documents signed by you and get the claim paid and then get the car dropped back to your house so that you need not worry about it. So, a lot of companies offer that today. A lot of insurance companies offer that today. And there are also insurance companies which do services like, they would upfront offer you the money so that, you can go and get it repaired whenever you want to. So let's assume during a weekday you had an accident, and on a weekday, it might not be possible for you to run without a car, which means that, you don't want to spoil one day in getting that dent out and not having the car. You can upload that video or the picture using their app. And that's the reason why I'm saying you should call up the insurance company, because they will first understand what your case is and then they'll suggest what is the best possible method and what all are available. Let's assume they will see the video, they'll see, okay, here is your 6,000 rupees or here is your 10,000 rupees. Take this 10,000 rupees, go ahead and repair it whenever you want. But once you repair it, just submit the bills to us. And if you agree to it, they will transfer that money instantly right away into your account also. And basis that, you can go on a weekend and get your car repaired wherever you wish to. And that's available. So there is roadside assistance, there's pick up and drop, there is upfront cash settlement that is done, and there's service like overnight repair service that is given by HDFC Ergo, which is basically, let's assume you had a dent or you had some small accident, up to 3-4 panels of dents or scratches, or only one part replacement that is to be done. In top 12 cities, they offer the service where they will pick up the car at the evening around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock from your house. take the car, get it repaired overnight, and tomorrow morning by 9 a.m. before you go to your office, they deliver the car back to your house, which means you need not worry about even losing a single day. So these are kind of services that I'm referring to, so that you should speak to the insurance company first to take advantage of these kind of processes. That's one part. Coming to the second part, let's assume this did not happen with you, and if you submitted for a reimbursement, or and it's not happening timely. I think the insurance, there are various possible reasons why it might happen. You might have submitted your claim in some local office or a local branch, and they might be, given the corona situation, there are a lot of places where they're operating under less strength. But in the regular scenario also, let's assume if something has happened, there is all these insurance companies have a centralized claims toll-free number. So you should call them and you should put across to them saying this is what has happened and you're not getting a response. And recently, IRD has also asked insurance companies to provide, timely claim service updates to consumers, which means the customer is entitled to get what is happening with their claim, when is it going to be settled, or what do they think the next step is. The insurance company should upfront communicate to the customer time to time. So you will get it through that. If that is also not happening, and obviously there is a escalation metrics or mechanism which is put up on insurance company's website, which you should be able to take care, which by putting up across to them, they should be able to solve it. I think somewhere over a period of time, it used to happen in the past that there are some definitely some people used to face some delays in reimbursements and all of that. But as I'm saying today, with the advancements and with the new processes that are there in place, a lot of these can be driven away with. It's just that you need not even get into that reimbursement process. You can just call up the insurance company and they will suggest you what's the best process for you. So you need not even get into that loop and you need not even worry about it.
All right, we're going to try and take a few quick questions. Request a very sharp, quick answer because we're running out of time. What is the benefit in buying a motor cover online? How is it beneficial from a customer standpoint? Chanakya has this question.
Chanakya, that's a wonderful question. I think, let me put it across like this. One useful thing by, it's not only about motor insurance, right? It's about anything and everything. When you go online, I think, especially in the regulated space, very highly regulated space like insurance, where the regulator is very strict about what do you show, how do you show, what do you speak about, how do you speak about, and so on and so forth. Whatever you see online is there clearly in black and white. It's written in black and white. So if you're being sold something or if you're buying something, you know exactly what you're buying. Versus in an offline scenario, I would not say every time, but there are scenarios where it happens, not only insurance, even in other spaces also, the person who's selling might promise you something else which is not there actually as part of it. So one is you get to avoid that. Second is you get to compare multiple types of policies and multiple insurance companies in a single place versus trying to go to different people and different places and compare kind of. Especially a platform like Policybazaar, where you can actually compare all 21 or 25 insurance companies' policies and kind of decide what kind of a tailor-made policy do you want. Let me put it this way. It's like if you're buying it from someone who generally is an agent of a one insurance company, I'm not saying it's against any agents as such. If you're very comfortable with a particular brand and you want to buy only that brand, then it's okay. You can go to that particular insurance agent or that company and you can buy it. But generally what happens is when you're buying from either a showroom or from particular person, then there's some packages which are made, and those are the only packages which are being put across to you, saying this is exactly what you get: silver package, gold package. There are various ways people sell. They make whatever those packages and they try to sell you at that price. But if you look at online, you can look at various options. One is the entire spectrum of insurance companies, what are they offering? Second is which kind of add-on do you want, which kind of add-on do you not want. So you might want to take a zero debt, but you might not want to take an engine protector because you don't have that risk. Or you don't drive too long and you really don't need something like roadside assistance cover, so on and so forth. You can decide and you can actually choose a tailor-made policy online in a comparison platform compared to anywhere else in an offline scenario. And at the same time, when it comes to online, obviously there are insurance companies who are trying to make the best of the available space, and as a result, they also put their best foot forward in terms of price. So while at times it might be possible that someone might not be giving you the best price offline, they might want to try out by giving you some price, and if you're not okay with that price, then offer you a best price. Online, it is not going to be like that. It's going to be whatever you say there is there. That's it. Because you're going to see and you're going to either decide or you're going to walk out. So everyone is going to put their best foot forward there. So you have all of these three comforts. One is basically you can get a tailor-made policies, whatever that you wish to, rather than taking packages. You get to compare multiple insurance companies, and as a result of multiple insurance companies being there, you get the best price there. Most of the times, because everyone puts their best foot forward rather than trying to guess the customer, second guess the customer.
Sure. So here's a question from Abhijit Chatterjee. I have renewed my motor cover that I purchased online, but it is not reflecting online. How do I go about the same?
So Abhijit, if I understood your query correctly, what you might be referring to is that you purchased a policy, but it's not reflecting under Parivahan website or app. That's what I'm assuming right now. If that is a scenario, you can just call up the insurance company and just ask them that this, or report this, that saying this is what is happening and this is not reflecting, and they will check and they'll immediately confirm to you if that policy is a valid policy, saying yes, this is a valid policy, and by when will this reflect. The reason it might take time to reflect on Parivahan website is because today the process is a bit it goes through multiple loops. So insurance companies put this data across to IIB, which is a bureau, insurance bureau. And insurance bureau then puts this data across to Parivahan, and there are these multiple loops which happen, and as a result it takes a bit of time before policy which you might have bought today, it will not reflect immediately in Parivahan app. It will take some time to do that, but in case if at all it got stuck during that process, by reporting to insurance company you can get that done, so you don't face any challenge. If you're referring to by chance something else that you bought somewhere online through someone, but it's not reflecting on insurance company's website, I think you should speak to the insurance company. And they will help you resolve, if it is a genuine policy and you bought it online or from a genuine platform kind of thing, you shouldn't see any issues. At times, yes, what you should also understand, Abhijit, is that now that you raise this question, there are fraudsters in every industry who operate. When I say fraudsters in the industry, I don't mean to say the industry people. I mean to say there are people generally, there are some fraud elements in the world who try to take advantage of different consumers in different industries. This keeps happening in banking industry also, insurance industry also, or any kind of industry. You keep getting phishing emails looking like as if it's a mail from your bank asking you to log in. You keep getting messages as if today morning I got an SMS saying from Citibank saying don't encourage if someone's saying you're calling from Citibank and or from somewhere and someone is providing you a free coronavirus test. So these fraud elements don't differentiate between a pandemic and a regular scenario. So if at all by chance someone has sent you a link which is not a genuine link, you should always validate whether the website or the link on which you're paying, is that registered with IRD or not, or because IRD is the insurance regulator like RBI for banks and SEBI for stock markets. So you should understand that and you should make a payment. But if at all, if it has happened that you made a payment somewhere else on WhatsApp or on some other link that someone has sent, and you feel like it's not reflecting right now, you should immediately contact the insurance company to figure out whether it's a genuine policy or not. If it's a genuine policy, they will correct it, whatever, if there's any tech error, and they will get it reflected on. Otherwise, you'll get the answer, or you can see how to approach that about.
Okay, we'll take one final question. This comes from Tanvi. Any tips you would like to suggest while renewing one's car insurance policy?
I'm sorry, Vivek, can you just repeat that?
So the question from Tanvi is, any tips you would like to suggest while renewing one's car insurance policy?
Great, Tanvi. So basically, there's nothing called as tips as such, but one common thing is it's not only about car insurance, whether it's a car insurance or a bike insurance or a health or a life insurance. My only suggestion is you should do your bit of homework and you should compare different policies before opting for it. You can at the end of the day go ahead and buy what you were initially looking for. It doesn't make a difference. But what you should definitely do is you should compare what different insurance companies are offering, because there are about, if you look at general insurance company, I think about 25 plus general insurance companies, 20 plus life insurance companies. So every insurance company has different policies and they have different benefits. So, it's just that in order to ensure that you're getting the best of what you want, one is getting the best And second is getting what you exactly want rather than just buying something, right? You should always go ahead, compare what different people are providing and at what price are they providing, and then understanding from that perspective, what do you actually want or what will satisfy your needs, and then accordingly purchase. Where you purchase from, it's up to you, but you should definitely compare always before purchasing. I think this is something which we as a human tendency we definitely do in our daily life. We try to compare each and everything, and we do that. But I think somewhere in insurance, everyone does not everyone doesn't do that, because they feel that insurance is a bit of slightly outside of their purview or their knowledge levels or whatever it is. That's not true. It's not that difficult also. So once you start to compare and understand what something provides you, I think it'll be really helpful for you in the long term, because what you're buying will also be a lot more meaningful for you.
Okay, one quick question which has come in from Pankaj Toli. Usage-based insurance for trucks, is it on?
Pankaj, I don't think so. Right now, as I said, all of these products which are available right now are primarily from the perspective of sandbox regulation, and almost all the insurance companies who have filed, as far as my knowledge goes, have filed it for private cars. Because this is a very initial stage, right, Pankaj? It's not. It's a very initial stage of innovation. So right now, people are doing it with private cars. But yes, if this becomes successful, we can expect such products to be there in future. Having said that, just one small, this thing. In case if you have a commercial vehicle, and if you're looking at it from a commercial vehicle perspective, that given the coronavirus, you're not being able to. You don't want to purchase a comprehensive policy and all. You can discuss with your insurance company. There are multiple insurance policies which are available. Let's assume if your car or if your commercial vehicle is gonna stay in a garage for the entire year and it's not gonna move out. So it's possible, right? So let's say you own 10 trucks, and given the coronavirus pandemic, it might even happen that in the next 1 year only 5 trucks might run. The 5 trucks might be there in the garage, and after 1 year, once things become better, you might actually be able to, the business might flourish back, and then you might be able to pull out all the 10 trucks. So if your 5 trucks are going to stay in the garage, so in order to ensure that you don't pay upfront third-party premium, because your vehicle is not going to go onto the roads, it's going to just stay in the garage, which means the only risk that it has is fire risk, that fire might happen, or fire accident might happen, or a theft risk. There's not even accidental risk. So there are policies which can cover such vehicles which are staying in a garage, where you pay very, very small premium for that fire and theft risk, and you need not pay the third-party premium and all of that. So you can discuss this with the insurance company or with a certain, whomsoever you're buying your insurance policy from, and you can get this option. Just letting you know in case if you're asking from that perspective. But right now, usage-based insurance is not there in commercial vehicles.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, all participants, for your questions. Thank you, Sajja, for your extremely experienced view on all of them, and look forward to many more such conversations. Over to you, Apeksha. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing some valuable insights. Hope it has helped our audience. We'll be back with a new episode and addressing some more of your queries next same time. See you guys. Thank you so much.